Welcome back to welcome back to the DTF Film Sessions. I'm Max Dean. You can find me on Twitter at TheMaxDean, and I am here with Shane Carter once again at Shane Carter TX on Twitter. And this is going to be episode number 32, in which we are breaking down Joey Porter Jr., the corner from Penn State. So I know this is one of your favorite players, pretty different from the last player that we just broke down. Stylistically quite different, also physical, much taller, much longer, and kind of more specific in what he does very, very well. So, how you doing today, man?
Doing great. And Joey Porter Jr. is the archetype for what you want from a number one cornerback. He's tall, he's long, he's heavy, he's physical, and he can play in your face. I think he is going to give a lot of teams a run for their money as the top cornerback in what's going to be a really deep quarterback class. Even in your guy out in Oregon, Christian Gonzalez might even be second on some people's boards compared to this guy.
It depends on what you want out of him.
Right.
You know, Gonzalez is not as active in the run game. I think he's still physical with receivers, but it's a little bit more selective, shall we say. Joey Porter Jr. is definitely more willing to get his nose in there in all situations. I think the athleticism is, you kind of obviously have to hand that to Gonzalez. But Joey Porter Jr. plays within himself very well. He loves to get hands on receiver. I mean, he is all about press man. It's not just man, it's press man. Like, you want a guy who's going to disrupt those routes at the line of scrimmage. This is your guy. He's 6'2", 193 pounds, but he also has long arms. I think he's either 33 or 34-inch arms or something like that. 34-inch arms. And you can see that on tape. He's like long as heck out there. So without further ado, let's jump into it because we've got him lined up right here. All right. So the one thing that jumps off right away is in zone here. This is I guess like in, is this, I guess, cover 2?
It looks like it.
Yeah, it's a cover 2 where the linebacker comes to fill the underneath zone on the outside, and Porter plays the deep half. So when he goes here, the technique is good, but it's a little stiff when he flips his hips, and it doesn't look like the most natural run. It very much looks like he's like, it looks a little bit effortful. Like he's in position, and then you see on the in-breaking route, like if this is a harder cut, if this is a dig, like he's not naturally in the position to flip his hips back and go with that easily. So this is probably the type of situation you want to put him in the least, I would say.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he has a good 3-4 yards inside leverage on the receiver. And he does give up leverage from there. But as soon as he turns his body, like you say, he turns his body a little bit too slow for the receiver running. It looks like sort of a post route, just based on the angle of it. And that as soon as he breaks in, like you said, Joey Porter Jr. is already cutting towards the sidelines, and that gives up leverage. And so you would like him to stay more lateral rather than diagonal, because that'll give up inside leverage way too often.
And I think this, to be honest, is kind of a lazier route, and I think that's Marvin Jones or Marvin Harrison Jr. there, I believe, 18. And so this kind of like, it's not, I think he kind of thinks the play is over, but it's actually an extended play. If he's a little bit more aggressive on that post, like he could create a lot more separation in this situation. But he kind of just rounds off the route and cruises across the field.
Yeah, so they're both, at that point, they're both out of the play. You're right.
All right, got him in press. So he's ready, hands up from the get-go. That's one thing that I like about him in press. Like, he doesn't play games. He doesn't sit with his hands down and then try and get them up real quick and punch you. Like, he's like, look, you know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to hit you as soon as I can.
He's always ready in man coverage. He has some of the best hand-to-hand combat skills, if you want to call it that, against receivers. But it's really just because he matches up so well with a lot of these like taller, longer receivers that he's able to match them step for step, blow for blow. He kind of read this route without really looking at the receiver's feet. He's got his eyes on the receiver's eyes the entire time, and he never breaks coverage on it. And these are Ohio State receivers. And they're taught NFL route trees. They are taught the routes that you see at the next level. And so this is always a good litmus test for these kind of cornerbacks. And he does a really, really good job of not letting this guy go at any point.
Right. And I think I would like to see a little bit more intention in the footwork. It's like it's functional in this case, but it's just a little casual. I'd love to see him just chop those feet just a little bit more. It's kind of like the footwork is a little bit bouncing, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I do like that he keeps his hips underneath him though. That way he doesn't play too tall. It allows him to turn if he needs to turn. It allows him to keep leverage. And once he knows the receivers actually run more of a seam, it looks like it's sort of a seam route. He's able to contain him to the sidelines, and that's one thing as a cornerback you need to do is not let the receiver inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he cuts off as much of the space as possible, and you see him running with his hips outside. But when he wants to break in, kind of look how he just kind of bounces from here to here for a potential inside break. It's also physicality at the top of the route, and that can be a little dangerous. He's been called handsy. I definitely see that. And hand fighting is one thing, but I think looks like it's hard to tell because of the way that the film is cut off what he's doing. But
at that point the ball is already out and they both know the play's over for them.
Right. So, but anyway, so it's like everything he does is very, very functional. So that's why I say like certain players play within themselves very well. He does, but I think you can clean up the footwork a little bit here, and it will put you in better position for when you have those breaking routes and you don't have hands on a guy. You know what I mean? Like if you get somebody driving hard upfield and you got to turn in. If any time that you have both feet off the ground for that extra split second, that's time where you're not breaking on the ball. You know what I mean? So small nitpicks again for a first round corner, but.
I don't even know if we'll see him on this angle.
Yeah, we want him just letting it run through. All right. Once again, press even tighter. I think he is right up there. And again, hands ready.
He always kind of gives it away that he's gonna be pressing him, but he doesn't really care. Good.
Yeah.
I want to see from the back look. I just want to see like on the in-breaking route after the receiver cuts in. If you don't mind.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. Because he makes a cut as the receiver cuts inside. So I'm just wondering if the safety was late. Because he has the guy covered. He got inside leverage, but he's still on the guy. So I'm wondering in that case if the safety was late or if that was just a good route by the receiver.
I think it's a good route. So I think that might be
because he's where he needs to be. Because if he gets too close, he'll call for a penalty. He almost get called for holding there. He kind of cheats a little bit at the 25-yard line.
So I believe this is Marvin Harrison again. Yeah, I think this is 18 again. I mean, you see this foot fire off the line. Like, we're talking about maybe the best receiver in the country right here.
No doubt.
So it's a tough matchup for anybody. But
I think he stays. The key is that he stays with him, though. Is like I'm just wondering if the safety bit late or if Harrison Jr. is that great of a route runner, because it looks like he pushed off right at the last second. And he gives up just enough leverage at the top of the route right there, and Stroud knows where he's going to be. And see the safety bit too far deep. He should if he stays where he's at. I don't know if Stroud takes that chance.
Well, right in this case, because it's too deep, you definitely want to keep the receiver inside you, so he's in the right position. He doesn't get hands on because he gets that foot fire, and so he's more focused on matching the route than punching. And obviously Harrison Jr. is a big receiver with great explosiveness, but he's running with him very effectively, gets hands on within the 5 yards, and then they run together, and then Harrison Jr. tries to give him a little contact. It's hard to tell exactly what he's doing. Looks like he even gets the hand on the right hand on the left shoulder pad there, and without like pushing off, tries to get that little push on the hand, because a lot of times if you push on the hand, you can get away with it versus pushing on the body.
Right.
But it is good positioning, and I'm not sure who the safety is
Is
looking
that
at necessarily.
is that Jair Brown?
Not sure.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from this angle.
But he forces the catch in traffic on a big body good receiver, and sometimes that's going to happen.
Yeah, there's no shame in getting routed up by, I think, the best receiver in college football. Actually, I don't even think it's not. I mean, I think he just is the best receiver in college football.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how close he is when the ball is actually caught. I mean,
he's at the right spot. It's just I think that's just one of those times that the receiver just wins.
Mm-hmm. Funny when there's a receiver that makes a 6'2.5" corner look small.
Yeah.
And they can move like that. Yeah, he's going to be real good.
Oof, good read.
Mm-hmm.
He's outside zone. He didn't overshoot it. He stayed patient, and then I think once he sees that bottom receiver move laterally, and he sees the underneath guy moving side to side, he's like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen here. He read that perfectly, and really the receiver does both these guys do a bad job.
Horrible.
Yeah,
it's horrible.
I think each one assumed that they had him, but it's just that closing speed. Sometimes you see him tackle, he looks like his dad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, he's physical in all aspects. Like, he's a very willing tackler. The thing about his tackling is it's maybe not form perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is functional, but he's kind of going in with the shoulder and the right arm catches him. It's not exactly what you would love to see. As a 6'2" corner, he's big enough that probably it's in this situation, it's fine. We'll see later where maybe it's not as good. But this is a terrible job blocking by number 4. Like, I don't know what he thought he was accomplishing here, but
I think he was hoping that the receiver already had the ball and he was just going to come outside of him.
I guess
that can only be it. I think that was just him hoping that something happened. He knows that's on him. And Joey Porter Jr., like you said, he has functional strength. He's got the size that you would need. And against like smaller NFL receivers, this will be enough. Against like the very few that are 6'4", 220 plus, like you said, Drake London, one of those guys, you might need to put a little more emphasis on the hit.
Well, running backs too, right? Like, so if you got a play that looks like this, but it's the running back coming out of the backfield,
try that against Derrick
on
Henry.
A little design screen, yeah, you're gonna have to wrap up a little bit better than that because they're gonna have the leverage advantage on you as well. But it works in this case.
But great play recognition.
Exactly, the read is really what I wanted to highlight here. And I like that he slaps the arm away. Not that it really matters, but at least the awareness to do that. All right. Let's get from actually a play where him at this angle actually has some use.
One arm shove. It's over.
Actually, I was probably overly critical of the tackle. Now that I see it, I'd like to see him square up a little instead of just leading with the shoulder, but he drops the hips nicely. There's still a lot good there.
Plus, the way they're teaching people to tackle nowadays, you're gonna have to pick and choose like your comfort level as well as without trying to like lead with the helmet and getting called for a penalty.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is a situation where ball doesn't go to him, but the recovery of a player like Gonzalez is where I'm like, okay, you're in a position like this where you're not sure what's about to happen. You don't get to set where you want to set. You're going to be able to out athlete guys and recover. So here he just has to go into like bail mode. He's just got to bail just to make sure he doesn't get beat deep. And then
Yeah.
he there's nothing he can do. Like he doesn't have the athleticism to flip his hips in. The ball is in the air here, but like he would be well beat on this route, and then he'd have to make a play in space to save it if the ball went to the right side.
It's
And
hard. I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, finish up. Finish up.
I just wanted to say that this is just like kind of an indicator of what it can look like when everything isn't as intentional for him. So if he does get a little bit confused or tricked on the play, the recovery is not as all world as some of the other guys.
I do wonder who he was talking to on the defense, just because you said, it looks like there was some miscommunication right from the start. And he has enough space off the receiver to avoid any sort of dangerous deep route. But I don't like that as he gets closer and closer, the play starts, and what was about 7 yard split becomes 2 right there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're, I'm of the opinion that if you don't know what's happening, just stand still and let the play come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you overshoot it, the safeties move the nearby safety. He's moving in the middle of the field, but he's moving laterally away from the receiver, and that was almost a disaster. But Stroud's already looking to the left side anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to say exactly what's supposed to be happening here. There's definitely confusion. There's confusion on looks like the linebacker is trying to organize the defensive line, and then number 23 looks like he's on the wrong side of the field. I think what he's saying is, who the heck is covering the slot here? The play's about to start. I think that's what he's saying.
And
But
the
then
play
he doesn't
starts.
have eyes on his man, and then he's like just starts walking up. So
I think he does a good adjustment as soon as he regains himself.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the sort of communication skills can really mess you up at the next level.
Okay, so in terms of the route,
He lets him inside. Can't do
yeah.
that.
Well, it's too high, so you definitely want to keep inside leverage versus outside, but he's a little too casual with it. That's the thing that you see a casual play style with him sometimes. Like for some things he's so on, like when he's in press, he's got his hands up all the time. But like for some stuff like the way that his footwork is a little bouncy, a little casual. And then this play is clearly designed so that, well, I shouldn't say clearly designed. It leaves the tight end wide open there. But one of the main reasons I also wanted to highlight this play is because, so this is his tackle in space, right? And it's not the easiest tackle to make, but not that great.
No, it looks like he scores up a little bit too soon. But at that point, the tight end cut is gonna. Oh, that's not him.
This is him right here.
Okay, second tackler. Okay.
Yeah, but kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
He
okay.
overruns it a little bit.
Yeah, I even credit that he's able to bring him down. Oh, he doesn't bring it down. I'm sorry.
No, that's the thing.
I see the rest of the play. Yeah, shoestring tackle. Okay, I didn't know if that was where this play was going, just because I. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that's bad. That's bad tackling all around, really.
Right. And so I wanted to highlight that, where it's like, he's willing and all, but I think from time to time, he's just a little too casual with things, a little too casual with the footwork sometimes, a little too casual with, what he expects to happen versus what actually happens. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like an attitude thing, I think, and a good coach will probably be able to get him to tighten stuff up. But when we're looking at prospects, this is just kind of why he's the clear third to me. All right. I have one more play after this.
Yeah, I want to see what the tackle looks like from this view. Okay, so whiff.
He needs to drop his hips a little sooner.
Yeah, drops
a little sooner.
He drops him after he cuts, which is like both are a little too late. Like he should have cut a little sooner than that because he has backside help. And good.
Yeah, you gotta start closing space a little bit more here, and then drive through it, not try and catch him as he's moving horizontally.
Or at least grab onto one of the legs.
Yeah, I mean you're 6'2" with 34-inch arms. Like, gotta just latch on and roll a little bit better than that.
Yeah, it ain't gotta be pretty, but like if you get one of the legs, at least that stops it from getting in the end zone.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So he's playing deep. It looks like it's cover 4 shell, and he starts deep.
Yeah.
And then
they get slant thrown against him, a quick slant. Yep. And by the time he recognizes it, he's already got the ball. So he takes the right angle. That's important.
But again,
his teammates
we'll see the tackle. The play. Yeah. Teammate doesn't finish the play, but still, like, he should make this tackle too, right?
Yeah, I think you have a good point that he has a willingness to tackle. He ain't scared of contact. It's just like finishing those tackles off. And that unfortunately is like an issue that people have to lie cornerbacks, is that, like, especially when they go against the top receivers, cornerbacks don't always go through tackling drills the way linebackers and defensive linemen do, in that they know how to tackle in space, but they don't always do it as well. So I think what's key here is that this time, as opposed to last time, he took the right angle to get to the receiver. He had the hips set a little better, but it's about finishing that tackle off, because at that point the safety has to come help him finish it up.
Well, it's like right here, you can see he's about to tackle and he's already dragging his right foot. Like, he's kind of falling into it.
He must have landed his body on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to put your body on them, not just like press up against them. Otherwise, like against those physical receivers, those will take advantage of that every time. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah. So there's a lot good here. The length and physicality that he plays with is definitely signature, if you know what I mean. Like, it has a very specific flavor, and it's like if you took the jersey off and put random jerseys on, right, and you had a good idea of who's in this cornerback class and you saw reps from him, it's like, you know who he is, right? It's like it's very distinguishable from any of the other guys in this class, the way that he plays. And sometimes that's a really good thing, because it means a guy knows exactly who he is. And I think that's here. I just think he needs to refine a few things. I think he just needs to clean up some of the footwork, be a little bit more intentional with that, the way that he's intentional with his punches, the way that he's intentional with his hands as routes develop. I think he needs to be a little bit more intentional with his tackling. And I don't think any of those are long-term issues. I really do think that that's just stuff that it's going to take a little time to work on and really fully refine. I think the athleticism is good for the size. I don't think it's elite overall. So when he's in challenging situations, that he's not quite prepared for, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to recover than some of those other two guys that we watched. But still a very good corner nonetheless, and worthy of a later first-round pick, especially if you run a very heavy man coverage offense. That's my opinion on him.
Yeah, as far as man coverage go, I think he is the best cornerback in this draft at that area. I think he plays better closer to the receiver than as opposed to with a lot of space, because it seems when he plays with a lot of space, he can make those mistakes that you mentioned. When he's locked up with the receiver, you see the physicality, the vision. You see a lot of his best traits. And even though we didn't get to see it a lot in this game, he does have the ball skills that I really, really like. when you see him make plays on the ball. He has sort of like a receiver's mentality. Sometimes the same with guys like Emmanuel Forbes or Clark Phillips from Utah do. He has that feel for where the ball is going to be, and that's always a plus. I do think you're right. He needs to fix his form tackling. He needs to take better angles and dip his hips better when he's going in for a tackle, because that's going to be something that teams will recognize, and that's often what happens when you see a lot of those jet sweeps and outside zone runs to his side, is that if they think they have a matchup with a bigger running back against him, that could be an advantage, especially year one. Mm-hmm. So I agree with you on that.
I think the ideal fit for him would be somewhere like, so I did a mock draft and I had him going to the Giants. I think that would be a phenomenal fit, because you got Wink Martindale, who loves to run man coverage, who loves to blitz. And if you got a guy who can do press man and disrupt the timing of those routes, that could be really challenging for a quarterback who's got a blitz in his face if a guy's not getting free as quickly as you'd like him to. And I know that they need corner help there, so I think that's a great fit. I know they need a receiver, but just the way that this is going to line up, I think that would be a prime pick for them in terms of fit. But anybody who runs a stylistically similar scheme, I guess Belichick would be one too, although I don't think he blitz as heavily as Wink Martindale. But I know Belichick wants his guys to tackle, but in terms of the press man ability and attitude, I think he'd like that. I think if Belichick could get Witherspoon, that'd be his guy all the way, but I just doubt that he'll be available at 14. But you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to do it for us today. For Joey Porter Jr., I'm at the Max Dean on Twitter. Shane is at Shane Carter TX. Defiant Takes Football is at Defiant Takes on all social media outlets. And of course, check out our written work at defianttakesfootball.com. The draft is here, baby. We are right up against it. So
the most wonderful time of the year.
Seriously, I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to just watch the draft and just chill. Like, all the work is done.
Yep.
All the work is done.
We're here.
You sit back, watch it happen, and then you can just talk about it and
hate it.
You can love it, you can hate it, whatever. Yeah, you can criticize it, you can love it, but it's just like your job is done and you can just sit back and enjoy.
Your team ain't taking a quarterback.
That's true. That's 100% true. I feel like I'm curious what direction they go now, because they after signing the center and getting Rodgers, they pretty much finished off the team in terms of like viable starters. And so at this point, it's really just about who is going to be the player that they feel is going to be like the best long-term addition to the roster, because there aren't really holes anymore. I think there are places they could upgrade, but it's like, if that person's not available first round, they'll be fine. So this is going to be an interesting draft for them too.
You do when you have no holes, take a pass rusher.
Take a pass rusher. They might. We're going to have to talk about this later. I think Nolan Smith is a prime pick for them, because I think he brings something that they don't necessarily have.
Him and Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah. Reunite the Georgia guys. Get them on either sides. Both play the run really well, which I think is important when you play the type of defense that they do. But we cannot do this again. We cannot derail the episode of a specific prospect to talk about a team or some random other prospect.
Sorry. All right. Y'all have a good one.
We'll have to do this off air. All right. Shane, thanks again. Talk to everybody very soon.